Hi, Mrs. Jones. This is Kathy Willett, and I'm excited to share with you my classroom management plan for my 8th grade students at Magee Junior High School. This is a long presentation. There are 53 slides, so it's not something that we're going to be able to do in a day. My intent will be to break it strategically throughout the week, and we'll stop and start depending on the level of the discussions. We're going to practice and rehearse some of the procedures, so there'll be a lot of things interwoven in this presentation. But I will start with the overall objectives of what we're looking for in terms of that we'll be discussing and putting that before the students. Getting to know each other is one of the fundamental and exciting aspects of teaching that I'm really looking forward to. And so for them to get to know me and introduce myself, I adapted the assignment that we did in class because my information was way too long for a slide. And I broke it down into areas that I thought they'd be more interested in, where I've lived, schools, what I've done, my significant others in my life, Keith and Miles the cat, some pictures of things that are important to me. And then I will talk about what I like to do, my hobbies and passions. And I want to use these two slides as examples of what I want them to give back to me in terms of to help me learn who they are. And they can do it in any way they want possible. They can draw, they can do a writing assignment. I don't know what their skills are on the computer. So all those options we'll discuss and use that as invitation for them to share with me similar items of them. As I share the mission statement as the foundation for our whole classroom culture, I want them to understand that this is my goal and my vision for how I think we can become a community of learners. And everything else following from this will break down how we're going to make this possible, how we're going to achieve it, and the part that each of us plays, myself and every student. This is just a short interactive video to kind of underscore that everybody in this room has different thoughts and different goals and different dreams, and that's what makes us unique and individuals, and we're going to come together and learn how we can put all these different imaginations and goals to work in our classroom. But I want to emphasize that as individuals working together, we have to have rules that are going to govern our classroom behavior and attitudes and interactions. So this will probably be the first section that we'll stop and have a lot of discussion around. In fact, one of my considerations is that for the bell work for that first day, what I will be calling brain jump, will be to think about 2 rules that they want for their classroom and why that's important. So to have already had them started to think along these lines. But I'm going to take this slide and present it as these are the ones that I think are important for our classroom, and ask them for their input and ask them to break down what do we think each of these points means. If we're listening attentively to instructions, what does that look like to them? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? And so we'll do a lot of board work on this. So I'll be capturing these different points. And because there's 5 different classes I'll be presenting this to, it will be very interesting to see the priorities in each of these different classes. As we move into expectations, I like this definition, that it comes down to belief in terms of how we think something is likely to happen. And so this will set up our discussion on expectations. And I thought there was a great picture of the goldfish jumping and, reaching higher. So setting high expectations of what we can achieve. So I want to be very clear with students what they can expect from me, and that I am going to own my teaching and learning in that class. And I want them to know that I see each of them and will treat each of them as individuals, so that their different learning styles and challenges are what I want to be paying attention to, and that I want to engage them with, these awesome lessons that they are challenged by and excited by, as well as that discussion is going to be really critical in the class. And I want to begin to plant that seed over and over, that that's going to be an expectation, that is a wonderful way to learn. And I want them to know that I have full confidence and faith that everyone will achieve academic excellence. And we'll talk about what that means. So I want them to be really clear what I expect from them as students. And first and foremost, that they have to take responsibility for their learning. And they have to take responsibility for supporting their classmates in their endeavors. So we're in this together, but I want them to be able to take risks, do their best work, and just have the same confidence that I have that they're going to excel, that they are going to be able to do anything that I ask them to do in this class, that I'm setting it up, that expectation is no more, no less. It's just the way it's going to be. So as we move forward in the discussion, I want them to fully understand that they are responsible for their choices, and for every action, behavior that they choose, there are consequences and rewards. That's pretty much the way it works in the world, and that's for sure going to work in the classroom. And so it's going to be important for them to think along those lines. So we'll start with the consequences, and if they choose not to follow a rule, what can they expect? And I'll run through the sequence of what may happen depending on the rule, but I also reserve the right at the bottom to assign different consequences if I feel it would be more in keeping. And we'll talk about apology and restitution, and we'll let them know that any serious offenses as well, that I can make other choices. I can skip down a number 4 or 5 if I feel that it warrants that. But the most important point is that there will be consequences if people don't choose to follow the rules, and it will be their responsibility. And this is what we agree on. This is what they are aware of. And it's important for them to realize that when they make choices, good choices, to follow the rules, to interact respectfully with others, to finish their assignments, etc., that we will, good things happen. And I have the student assessment report, and we'll talk about that. I have a slide coming up on that, and the expectations for filling that out weekly, and what can result in terms of good choices and reward. And I want them to know that there are other rewards, and that they're not always have to be material. That sometimes joy and that feeling of pride in accomplishing things are other rewards well worth seeking. I will go over with them my student assessment report so that they understand how this is going to work with them. They'll have copies as well, and so we'll break this down. Now we'll be moving into procedures. We'll talk about what that exactly means, so why that's going to be important for us to maximize our learning, and hopefully to start them in the thinking process that that's just the way we do it to get things done. So now we're into the nitty-gritty details. So we will talk about entering the classroom and what that means. We will probably practice and rehearse some of these pieces. So what does it mean to greet teacher and classmates politely. What does it mean to go to seat? Where will the journals be? Making sure all the technology is put away, and that the expectation of getting started on the brain jump or the bell work. I like the thought of the brain jumps. I hope they do too. So this one, I want them to know what happens when they arrive late to class. So just to come in, be quiet, and get working. This will present more of our general classroom behavior that we need to start having as habits. And so it'll also be presenting some of the setups of my classroom in terms of where they put their homework, where they put their forms, so how to maintain organization of all their homework and assignments so that nothing is lost. So just kind of that overview. Hand signals, great thing. So we'll go over these and practice them. And if they want to change anything, I'm wide open if they feel something's a little better. But I love this part. I think it will be very effective, and I want them to understand how it's going to help keep us on task and manage our time. So we'll talk about the importance of listening closely and what that means in my class. That I don't want them to take notes, just want them to follow along. I plan on giving a lot of the assignments on paper so they can always have that to check, and so that we have good, clear procedures on that. I will make sure they understand that on all our papers this will be expected. I love the stand, found that in the Harry Wong materials, so very clear. And this slide shares the expectations of what they should be doing while they're working on an assignment in class, and it starts with, first and foremost, that they understand the directions before they even begin. And I also want to use this to underscore how important it is for them to be able to turn to each other and be able to ask questions or ask for clarification, that is how they can support one another in their learning. And that's a good thing. And being aware of time and managing it well, and putting forth their best effort within that time factor. This slide will let them know what they do if they finish their class assignment early, that they can't just sit, that they have to be choosing a new activity, and that they do have some choices. I'll have a place, a folder where they can go and take different activities, or they can choose to write in their journal or read a book, or I'll always have something posted on the board for that extra challenge. But bottom line is being mindful of each other. That other people are still working. And the importance of this slide is to show, if they don't complete it, that there is going to be a place for it, and there's going to be an expectation that it is going to be followed up by them in a timely manner, so that it does come to completion. I want to emphasize their responsibility for homework, and again, creating that ownership. And we'll talk about what they need to do when they're absent, that it becomes their responsibility to retrieve the work that they missed, to follow up with any questions and information they need to complete an assignment, and remind them, come and let me know ahead of time so we can work something out. And again, if they're excused, we'll make arrangements to make up any tests, and if they're not excused, they are going to be missing out. I found this in the Harry Wong book, and I thought this was really important, because if things turn up missing, that it's good to have documentation to be able to know that that student accepted their responsibility for that particular piece. So I really like this. So asking and answering questions, just pretty much raise hand, wait, allow others to finish speaking, and let's try to emphasize how the format matters. So collecting and returning papers, the process that I would like them to engage in. And this again will be another definite practice and rehearse situation right around this point, just so they have a good sense. And we'll, I'm sure, do this a few times at the beginning of the school year. And this will be transitioning to new activities. Again, will be where we emphasize time management is really important to do it as quickly as possible, and we'll practice this. So arranging seats. So this will be another one of those sections that we'll stop and take some time with. Small group work is going to be something I'm going to use a lot, and so this slide will help break down the procedures for that and the expectations. I really like the group roles, and some of the ones in the videos that we've seen on the Teacher Channel and Edutopia I thought were great. So I thought we'd give these a shot, and some of the more unusual, like the conversation mapper, I think will help begin to develop those skills in students to really pay attention to their contributions and how other people are talking and who's talking the most. So I really like this and want to see how this works in the classroom. And then we'll talk about other group responsibilities and emphasizing that they are accountable and how as a group they can work together and the process for that. And that I do want them to, that's working together is a really critical skill to learn, and that we'll be assessing each group as we move along. And procedures for ending group work, so what they need to do. I want to really emphasize the importance of everyone's participation in oral discussions, and so I've got this in a number of ways that I want to continue to drive this point home, and how critical it will be, and the process and the respectful procedures in doing that to create a good, safe classroom where everyone feels comfortable and confident that they can speak and say the things that are on their mind without worrying about other students' reactions. I'll discuss how they should take good lecture notes and what that means and the process for doing so. McGee is limited in its school technology. They have computer labs, and then they have about 20-30 iPads that a teacher can sign out every once in a while for her classroom. So it will be limited in what we can do, but these are the particular parameters which I would like people to respect when we do have those opportunities. I love the idea of class jobs. I think that's a great way of getting people involved in the classroom and making it feel like it's theirs. And it was also part of the reward system too. So there's a lot of different ways of incorporating this. Grading will be a primary source of interest for the students, I'm sure. And this is my preliminary overview. It may be more detailed once I go through the planning days with the teachers in the next couple of weeks. But I know that this would be important for them to understand how they will be graded, and intend on presenting the rubrics and checklists and other type of communication tools and formative assessments to be able to help them accomplish what we've accomplished in our class. Procedures on dismissal and getting them thinking along the lines of those routines and respecting that I will be the one who will say when class is done. We will practice leaving class together and what that means. Apparently, every 2 weeks we have pep rallies, so for sure there'll be one class that we will do some joint ventures together. So, of course, they're unexpected if someone does become ill, so something for them to think about. It was definitely something that I hadn't really considered till I saw it in the Harry Wong book. I want them to be really clear of if I'm not in the classroom, what my expectations are for them. This carries over to when we have visitors. Same, keep working, but be polite, be welcoming. And when there's substitute teachers, I want them to know that I have high expectations, that I will hear good things, that they have been mature and responsible and helpful. Of course, standard fire drill procedures, tornado warning drills, and I want them to know that I'm going to uphold the school policies of the McGee school system, and that I will be sending home this student parent teacher contract that we will all sign. And I like the format that I found with the 3 columns so that we all see it all at once. And we'll go over that very closely one more time to just that everyone's on the same page with each part that we play in their achievements. And then I want to end with my promise to them, and that I am going to do everything in my power to give them a great year, and that rules and expectations and procedures and everything that we have discussed and practiced and rehearsed and talked about and put in place and organized and set up is for our benefit, each and every one of us, that we can have the type of learning environment where everybody can excel and support each other and achieve and climb this great mountain and then have this wonderful adventure. Most likely going to be reading the book Thief. So I thought that was a great quote, that we can climb up this mountain together. So thanks for this assignment. I think this is just wonderful. I feel ready for my first week, and it's given me a lot of other ideas and ways of thinking. And next week I'm in my classroom starting to set it up and put all those baskets and bulletin boards together so that everything does have a purpose, and that we can have a great year. So thank you very much for this assignment. It was terrific.